and I'm very excited to introduce our next guest as well. So our next guest is an amazing human. His name is Craig Campobasso. I hope I said that right. Campobasso. Sorry about that. But Craig is an amazing award-winning filmmaker, and 82 different races of ETs he's connected with. So, I mean, my biggest question is, how did you find 82 of them? So anyway, very excited to have you on, Craig, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here, and Laura was awesome.
She was, wasn't she? Gosh, she
I
has
love
so much
her.
information.
Yeah.
I wish I had more time to ask her more questions, but yeah, we filled up
Yes.
an entire hour with her.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a PowerPoint, but I'm not quite sure how to set it up here.
Yeah, Neil's going to help you with that.
Tech support has arrived, Craig.
Oh, you're awesome, Neil. Thank you.
Okay, click present, click share screen.
Present.
See at the bottom there?
Share screen, okay.
Click entire screen.
Let's see, it says screen sharing is easiest with 2 monitors.
Yeah, accept that.
Accept that. Okay.
Click entire screen.
Wonderful. And just while you're getting that up, so for the people watching today, now Alan's already given a fabulous introduction. Alan and Neil gave a fabulous introduction before, but for the people that have just jumped in, so you've got a book that you've described these different extraterrestrial races, and you've also done a lot of shows. You've been on Coast to Coast AM with George Noory. Your latest book, The Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, The Ultimate Guide to Greys, Reptilians, Hybrids, and Nordics, has been a bestseller on Amazon. So, I really hope that during this presentation we can learn about all the different ET races, and take it away, Craig. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you guys so much. All right. Can you still see me too a little bit? All right. So
yeah, we can see you. You're good. You're good.
All right. Good. All right, everybody. I'm Craig Campobasso. I've got about 7 books out. These are a few of them here. The 2 MUFON books are the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac and the UFO Hotspot Compendium. My other book series is a 4-part book series called The Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial Saga. And the first one is called I Am Tehran. So yes, it's about Pleiadians. Anyway, so I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself, and then we're going to get into the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, since we only have, I think, 40 minutes today. So anyway, I've been a casting director for well over 30 years. I had a major spiritual awakening when I was 26 years old with 3 master teachers. And this is what led me to write The Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial Saga. My book agent knew how much that I had delved into the contactee phenomena since the age of 26, and that I was well versed on it. So they believed him that for me to write the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, which they already had the title for, which I thought was great. And I said, oh yeah, I can write that book, because I had studied, oh man, so many contactee cases. I was friends with many hybrids. And of course, from my own encounters, being a experiencer and so on. So the interesting thing is in 2019, when I began to write the ET Species Almanac, I got a call from a woman in Canada who told me she was my cousin, I think 5th time over. And she said she just wanted some information on my mother's side. That's how we were related, my mother's father's side, which I gave to her. And I said, hey, you know, I've got a biological father that I learned about when I was 12 years old. My father adopted me when I was 1. I said, do you think you can find him? Because I definitely could not find him on the internet, and I tried for so long. And she said, yes, I can find anybody. Anyway, long story short, she did find him. He had passed away already. And but finally, I was able to get a picture of him, which I did not have. And she told me where he was buried. I went there. I talked to them at the front desk. They gave me the name of the man that called to pick up his body. He had a different last name. I found the man living around the corner from me. I wrote him a letter, put my picture in there, and said, if you can get this to any of Fred's family, that'd be great. Anyway, I got a call a couple days later from the gentleman's son. And actually, the man was my biological father's half brother. And I thought, wow, that is so amazing. And of course, they didn't know anything of me. We did all the testing through DNA and all of that as well. And so I went to dinner with my uncle and my cousin. And I said, just tell me everything about Fred. It was a long 3-hour meeting. And he said, oh, he loved airplanes. He begged our mother to sign a piece of paper so he could get into the Air Guard because he was underage. And so she did. And then when he was 18, he was put into the Air Force. And he was telling me all the places that he was stationed. Anyway, long story short, then my uncle says in his next breath, and by the way, he was in Project Blue Book. Well, my face literally fell off, and I asked him, I said, well, do you know what that is? And anyway, he goes, well, kind of. He said, all my sons tried to get out of him UFO information, including the one that I was with. And he said he was always very tight-lipped about it. So here's the first coincidence, is that Fred Vero, my biological father, whose middle name was Warner, by the way, which has meaning, he was in Project Blue Book, which was the Air Force's study on UFOs that started in 1952 and was decommissioned in January of 1970, which investigated over 11,000 sightings. Its main study was to determine if UFOs were a threat to national security and to scientifically analyze UFO-related data. Now, here I am starting to write for MUFON, which is a US-based nonprofit comprised of civilian volunteers who study reported UFO sightings. So long story short, again, my uncle gave me everything that he had of his, which wasn't much, including his discharge papers. I know many people who are a little in the higher ups, and they said that his discharge number was one they'd never seen. So he was in a classification all his own. Now, my uncle then went on to say he was there for many years. I think he went up to a first sergeant. And then he just decided he didn't want to be there anymore. He came back to LA. He ultimately became the head of construction at Warner Brothers for film and TV. Warner Brothers, middle name Warner. I'm a casting director, and here he is in the film business. So I like to bring that up because it is truly in the DNA, and I found him when I began to write the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac. Now the interesting thing about writing the almanac, I had come up with over 120 races that I had researched, but the publisher said the book had to come in under 300 pages. And so I wanted to see as many as I could fit in. Paul Hellyer, who was the former Canadian Minister of Defense, who was very much championed UFO information and talked candidly about it in public, said that he knew of 82 races that were visiting Earth. And I thought, well, wouldn't this be a great way to honor him and see if I can squeeze 82 races in there, which is exactly what I did. So anyway, let's just move on. These are a few movies I worked on early in my career. I worked on Dune for 4 years and Conan the Destroyer at the same time. Here is me as a young man wearing Sting's costume. Sting was very awesome. He was a fantastic guy. Then I went on to Amazing Stories, where I started my casting career with Spielberg. These are the 4 books that are out of my book series. Everything's at autobiography of on et.com. This is my mom when she was young. This is my dad who adopted me when I was 1, Lou Campobasso. Of course, I consider him my father, always have. And of course, they're no longer with us, but I think of them fondly every day. This is my biological father, Fred. This is me when I was young. You can definitely see the resemblance a lot there. This is him in his Air Guard uniform. And then, of course, him working for Project Bluefoot Book and me for MUFON. So there's the cover. We call her Snake Girl. She's a benevolent snake girl. And so we start off with gray Zeta Humans and the positive races. Here's some of the positive races, the 3 on the bottom, we would call the Eben. There are so many different gray races. I can't even tell you. I remembered I was with a group at one time and a room filled up with all of them. And I've always been able to see into other dimensions since I was a boy. And I could see them all clearly. My friends could feel them. And the room literally escalated so high that you felt like you were levitating because they were all very positive races. Of course, I know a lot of you know about Daryl Anka. And so we do have the Sasani in the book. And what's interesting is that there are 7 generations of hybrids with the Sasani. The first are the small grays that are known as the Maze. The taller grays are known as the Mazani. Sasani beings are half human and half gray, so they're Sasani. And the rest are going to be hard for me to pronounce. Shayael are beings that are more human looking. The Yayael begin to start looking very human-like. And then Earth humans becoming the 6th hybrid race, Anaka Inau Kina Nia. Boy, that's hard to say. And then the hybrid children who eventually live on Earth with human are the Shana. And then the 7th hybrid race, Anuhet, a blending of all 6 hybrid races in 1,000 years. Now, the reason I love to talk about this is Daryl is so, he is just a wealth of knowledge with his connection to Bashar. As a casting director, I cast both of Daryl's films, Bashar First Contact. So I know his story extremely well. And also, we did a little sci-fi feature called Alienated, which is on Amazon, if you guys would like to watch that. So I do have very soon, I'm excited to tell you all, I do have the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, the documentary, ready for release on DVD first around December 1st. And then the rest will roll out online on all the sites and the streamers and Apple and iTunes and Amazon by the end of the year or the very beginning of the year. So You saw my website. If you want to receive information when they're available, just subscribe to my website, or you can email me directly and I'll add you into, excuse me, into the list. All right, let's see. All right, so we've got some malevolent grays. The one on the right side, the darker creature with these sort of orangish red eyes, are called the Orons. They've been spotted over the last several years doing abductions that are not congruent with the actual person. Meaning, if you're a star seed, part of your contract is that if they did want to take some of your DNA as a human, that you have already pre-allowed them to do it. But the contention with the bad grays, as we call them, is that they do it without consent. And there are so many horror stories. I mean, I met a gentleman who came to me in the 90s, people who were having all kinds of experiences. All my friends would bring them to me, and if I could help them in any way, I did. The Greys actually put eye implants in his eyes. So when he lifted up his eyelids and below, you could see an apparatus through his eyes, and then like the camera or the viewing was behind. And he was so flipped out. He said, even, to get them removed, I knew that they would just put them back. A lot of other people who have had experiences with Greys say that they know that they're looking through their eyes. They'd never talked of implants, but they said that they knew that they were seeing everything that they saw, which I found was interesting. And then a lot of people in my talks with Barbara Lamb and with Yvonne Smith, who have done so many regressions for abductees and things like that, they say it usually feels negative, and then as time goes by, they see what the purpose was, because they were true star seeds, and then they came to grips with their abduction scenarios and no longer felt that it was bad. I will tell you, because I'm in the film business, I do have actors, famous and who are TV stars as well. I will tell you one story of a woman who starred on a TV show. She told me when her daughter was little, they lived out in the canyon, so there was lots of land and homes were spread far apart, that she woke up to all these lights outside, and she ran into her daughter's room, and a Grey had her hand and was starting to pull her through the wall, and she grabbed her other hand and she fought the Grey and said, "You are not taking my child," and she forbid it, and the Grey let go. And then she saw the ship out on their front lawn, and their neighbors next door actually saw the craft as well. That was the last that she ever had an experience with those Greys. I haven't talked to her daughter, but anyway, it's just fascinating, all of these stories. All right, so let's get into reptilians. All right, there we go. All right, did I get it right? There we go. It's gone too fast now. Sorry, guys. It wants to restart the program. All right, I'm just going to let it do. All right, well, we'll start off with the benevolent reptilians. Oh, there we go. All right, Nope, they won't talk about the bad reptilian. This is doing it by itself, by the way, you guys. All right, so the ones that we hear the most about are the draconians. Man, it would take a whole day just to do a seminar on all of the information that goes on with draconians. But a big part of it is that the bad grays do work in conjunction with the reptilians, and once they come and they do treaties and they sign things with worlds such as Earth, they are allowed to have bases underground. And then once they've established those bases, then the reptilians come in because they're invited by the grays. And so it becomes a whole nother game changer. Anyway, they're very tall. They're built really strongly. Most starseeds will have experiences with them because they will try to knock them off their game. And I mean, I had a very, amazing starseed family. The parents were just brilliant. So their two children that came through were able to step up their energy. And the one boy, who was about 12 at the time, could speak 5 star languages. And so he would decipher things. He would speak them for me. A few times I got other star languages on EVP, and he told me what they meant. I also knew another woman who knew many star languages, and I gave her the same recording, and they both said that they were Pleiadian. That was Pleiadian verse. So in the documentary, you will hear some of the languages of the star nations as we're going through all of them. So anyway, all right. So let's go to the next. So we've got our benevolent reptilians. A lot of people will have experiences also with benevolent reptilians. I've heard that some very advanced reptilian races, that they also too are a part of the Starseed program, and that that they are being visited by the counterparts that they left behind. And so they're very connected into the whole reptilian world in the positive realm as well. So I know a lot of starseeds will, especially when they're just waking up, they'll usually get bombarded with a lot of benevolent energy, and then the bad reptilians usually show up. And just going back to the family, the 2 young boys and the father were every night being harassed and chased by reptilians. And so they came to me and wanted to know what they should do. And I said, well, look, all they're doing is just trying to knock you off your game for you not to progress in your spiritual life. I mean, these boys were showing me inventions they were going to build to help the earth. And I know that they're going to build those things. I mean, they were just brilliant. Anyway, so they did. They started doing a meditation practice that helped to push these entities away, and also learning to shield yourself. Laura was talking about Lisa Renee. Lisa Renee's website, I can't remember what it is, but if you just type in Lisa Renee, her website will come up. She has a lot of amazing meditations to repel negative energies, and to also build your spiritual network in your body up so that you elevate on a quicker timeline. So I would definitely suggest that you do that. All right, let's move along. So let's do some hybrids. All right. All right, so this little green creature here is from the constellation Rigel. This is from a Wendell Stevens book. And it's a Cherokee girl on the Indian reservation. I believe she was around 14. As we know, American Indians are very connected to off-world beings, and they had seen a craft around for some time, and they knew that this girl was going to be taken, and she was, and she had no fear. This being was very benevolent, and the reason they chose her was because of that. He was able to hook a neural thing up to her head and one to his so that they could talk from mind to mind. The little necklace around his neck, when he would touch it and point it on a wall, the wall would open up and go to a different section also on the ship. And anyway, he just wanted to share about who he is and who their race is, etc. And so when she came back, because he had her hooked up to this neural thing, she remembered everything in great vivid detail. So that's a great section in the ET Almanac, Rigel. This is what a human hybrid with some reptilian DNA in her as well would look like. All right, I know I have more than that. No, that's it. All right.